But what about Anthony Joshua? Keen to get your views on him, Adam, as to what is next for him, in what direction he is going in. He has revealed that he's decided against fighting again this year so that he can rest mentally after his defeat to Usyk. Now, a man you know well, so do I, so does Simon. talkSPORT and DAZN host Adi Oladipo has been in conversation with AJ. This was AJ speaking on DAZN about where his head is right now and the fallout to the Usyk defeat in August.
My last fight, man, like, I swear to you, like, just tore me apart. I had so much riding on it for me, the British fans, the undisputed fight, and it just really tore me apart. So from a mental capacity, like, my close ones are telling me, like, you should rest mentally.
Yeah.
Physically, I'm like down to ride. Like, I'm a warrior. I like this game. I like competing. But on a mental aspect, I think people have really seen, like, yo.
Although you've maybe not been as active as you would like to have been in the last couple of years, every AJ fight's almost like a Super Bowl event.
Bro, even if I'm not fighting, you see my name's getting called out every day. So it's the mental pressure that's being AJ as well. And obviously holding up a reputable reputation as well. These type of things go hand in hand. So it's just, it's tough, man. Trying to do this thing and do it properly, as we've seen in like recent weeks, it's not easy. Trying to get from point A to point Z, having a clean slate and do things properly and try and manage yourself. Boxing and boxers, we're like rough and tough, and I'm trying to do it properly, but it comes with a lot of mental pressure.
You know, good for Adi Oladipo, Adam, to get that chat, and Joshua certainly opened up. But AJ's star has fallen. I think we're agreed on that. So how does he rebuild himself?
He does exactly what he's just said there. I think ultimately coming out of that conversation is the reason as to why the Tyson Fury fight didn't materialise. I think AJ would have taken it. We always said that along the way, that as a fighter, I think he was in, but his team wasn't necessarily in, and he's taken that advice to take a little bit of time. He's been a champion or fighting world championship fights since April 2018. He's had 11 on the spin there. Now, although that is physically taxing, as I'm sure everybody will agree, it's also mentally taxing as well. When you're at the top of the tree, to remain at the top of the tree, it's a very difficult thing to do. And he's been doing that for a long period of time. So I'm not surprised if he is feeling any element of mental burnout. I think it's right for him long-term wise to maybe take a little bit of a rest, but he has to come back with a meaningful fight. He can't just come back from a fan's point of view with what would be classed as a tick over or something that they haven't necessarily have any desire for. I think the perfect comeback fight for him is Dillian Whyte. There's old rivalry there, obviously from Anthony Joshua becoming a world champion. Dillian's out at the back end of November, and if he comes through that fight, which I fully anticipate that he will do, because in my opinion that is a tick over, then I think in the first quarter of next year, Anthony Joshua, Dillian Whyte is the perfect fight for both men to establish themselves back amongst public thought.
Simon, we'll talk about AJ's potential opponent next, but what are your thoughts after what you've heard from Joshua there with Adi and where his mind might be at the moment?
I think common sense has prevailed. We may have wanted this situation with Fury Joshua, but it certainly wasn't right for Anthony Joshua, because it was at a time where you saw the emotional meltdown. You know, we were critical of it after the fight against Usyk. You saw the challenges that he had. He needed an opportunity to regain some ground. I actually think there's nothing wrong with him having a couple of tick-over fights to get himself back to his very best and get the momentum going back and getting the belief coming back through. He'll know that they're tick-over fights. That's why I wasn't so outraged by the fact that they were potentially, and they've obviously shot it down now, talking about people like Chris Arreola fighting him. Because I just think to myself, Anthony Joshua, we want to see the best version of Anthony Joshua be available to fight the best version of, ideally, Tyson Fury. And we don't want them to be in any situation where Tyson Fury is bullied and harangued and taken an opportunity to get Anthony Joshua in a ring by giving him an opportunity, by taking away all of the arguments about the splits and so on and so forth, and making it about a fight which really and truly wasn't in Anthony Joshua's best interests at this time. The only version of Anthony Joshua that has a chance of beating Tyson Fury is the best version. And that best version cannot be someone that's just come out of two fights where better in the second, but predominantly outclassed by a fighter, and going into a fight, go fight an even better fighter and expect a different outcome. That's a definition of insanity. Whether we've got styles in fights or not, it's still the definition of insanity. Now, the Dillian Whyte fight comes with a load of jeopardy, but it depends what we've got left of Dillian Whyte, because he got his backside handed to him by Tyson Fury back in April. He's got a tick-over fight, and I just want to see Anthony Joshua back in the ring, back to what people perceive to be his best, and then we'll have a no-excuse fight somewhere along the line.
Okay, there's one fight fan getting in touch, Adam. I think AJ's a broken man. That Ruiz knockout did a lot more damage than we thought it did. The White rematch makes sense, though. Well, he's been talking about who might be next for him. Again, speaking on DAZN with Addy, they went through one or two opponents who may or may not come into the equation.
Otto Vollin's been spoken about.
Yeah, I'll fight Otto.
Dillian White.
Yeah, I'll fight Dillian.
Okay, that's interesting. Hrgovic.
Yeah, I'll fight Hrgovic.
Okay, those are my three.
Okay.
Yeah, those are my three that I think, for whatever reason, make sense.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like fighting good opponents, and as much as it is becoming a champion, I always felt like it's important for me to fight the best in my era, because there was this whole like stigma about cherry picking, and you know, boxing, right? If you want to get to the top, you have to take risks, calculated risks, but you definitely have to take risks, and I just like taking risks. It's not how popular you are that makes you a good fighter, it's how good of a fighter you are that will make you popular.
Agreed.
So competing with the best and training for the best has always helped me elevate my game. So yeah, would I fight Wallin? And as I said, they may not be the most popular guys on social media, but they're solid fighters, you know.
Solid.
And I'm going to sit here and I'm not going to tell you like, nah, they're rubbish and they're that to make myself. No. I'm going to give them the credit they deserve. So I'll never underestimate anyone I step in the ring with.
It's interesting, Simon. You know, we know he's fallen down in the rankings somewhat. Yeah. But has he fallen down in his own consciousness, do you think?
Probably a little bit, because you can't help but if you lose things, there will be some psychological scarring, and if you lose them twice, when you put your very best foot forward in the second one, it's not going to be helpful to you, and he's going to have to dig into a space where Anthony Joshua. I mean, I never like people referring to themselves by nicknames like AJ. I think other people should be referring to yourself that way. I think you're getting a little bit self-aggrandized there. But I do believe that Anthony Joshua has the capability to get himself back into the mix at a significant level if he can regain whatever it was that I believe he lost when he got knocked down and got into the real hurt business against Vladimir Klitschko, where he had to dig really deep and go into the darkest place that he could possibly go into. And this is the place he's got to live in now if he's going to fight the top guys. He's got to be prepared to go into the absolute darkness that Deontay Wilder was prepared to go into against Tyson Fury, and he's got to go there too.
Yeah. Adam, would it be a bad idea for Joshua to go in with Deontay Wilder?
Oh, wow.
From AJ's point of view.
From AJ's point of view, probably yes. From a fan's point of view, absolutely not, because I think it's a massive fight that sells massively. I think Simon's just hit something on the head there. Everybody keeps referring back to the Ruiz fight. It's not the Ruiz fight that changed Anthony Joshua. It is the Klitschko fight that changed him. If you look at the stats building up to that particular fight, he's knocking everybody out in the first half of fights because he's a wrecking machine. Klitschko asked him some serious questions and he didn't like the answers off the back of it, even though he got the victory, and he changed his style. He's in somewhere down the line, he has lost his identity. He's got a bit of an identity crisis, Anthony. And what he needs to do is go and find that old guy. If he can go and find that old guy, that hunger, without sounding cheesy, that eye of the tiger, the person, as Simon just said, that is willing to put themselves at risk to go and get the job done, I think then you're going to have a real good second career, I suppose, for Anthony, if he can do that. Yeah. But that's a big question. That's a big answer. Can he do that? Because
that's right.
Let's be straight, he's a multimillionaire now. He's very, very comfortable.
Yeah, for sure.
Does he want to do it?
And I agree with you, Adam. I mean, I think all of the boxing world, Simon, would want to see Joshua in with Deontay Wilder. In fact, Eddie Hearn has now said that he's received a reply from Shelley Finkel after sending him an email back in August about potentially making that fight in 2023. So we might see it. And there and then would be Joshua's defining moment, wouldn't it? What have you got left?
Yeah, I mean, it's an incredibly dangerous fight for him, an incredibly jeopardous fight. But I do think it's a fight that would be absolutely, I mean, it would sell. It would massively sell because people would be so intrigued by it. I think there's a journey for him to go on before he should be going anywhere near that. And I think Dillian White represents a fascinating opportunity because there's bad blood. I mean, I was totally it's easy to say when you've never laced up a glove or carried a spit bucket, unlike Frank Smith at Matchroom Boxing. Little dig there. But you cannot suggest that Dillian White has anything that he took out of that fight against Tyson Fury. You know, he was completely and utterly diminished. It was almost laughable because he didn't put any particular competition up, and Tyson Fury says he did, but we saw it with our own eyes. It was a mismatch. So you'd expect Anthony Joshua to be able to But this is a battle between two fighters now. I mean, we don't want to see Anthony at domestic level, and we don't really want to see Dillian there, but it's a domestic fight to some extent. It's not a worldwide fight. But I'm fascinated because they're all going to be scrabbling around. Frank Warren is going to be scrabbling around trying to match Joyce in the WBO division because he wants that shot on a WBO. So he's going to be looking for a top 10 fighter in there. I think Hrgovic is off with the IBF. Ruiz is an eliminator for the WBC. So those guys are tied up. So it'll be interesting to see where Joyce goes. And it will be interesting to see the roadmap back.
Yeah.
And if I was Joshua, I would want to keep Deontay Wilder in the background for as long as I possibly could.
For sure. Adam, before we hit a break, there's one message from a fight fan. Otto Wallen suddenly becomes a solid fighter. I mean, guys, didn't Hearn mock him when he was picked by Fury? The hypocrisy of all of that. Is there anything in that, Adam?
Listen, Otto Wallen has always been a solid fighter. You saw what he did with Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
I thought Tyson actually maybe underestimated him a touch that particular night, but Otto Wallen gave him absolute hell. I was there. So therefore, you've got a barometer there, haven't you? If Anthony comes through and he stops Otto Wallen, then all of a sudden you've got a barometer. Well, Tyson didn't stop him. It went all the way to the end of the fight, and Anthony Joshua's got it. I think it's a solid fight. I really do. Personally, listen, man, I'm here to make fights that fans want to see.
Yes.
And if in the first quarter of next year, they say, right, Dillian Whyte's come through his fight. He's got a lot to prove. Let's be straight off the back of the Tyson Fury defeat. Anthony's got a lot to prove as well.
Yeah.
Let's go. Put those in the ring together. And I think genuinely, I know that Simon's just said maybe there's a roadmap to get to Deontay Wilder. I think whoever comes out of that fight then moves towards Deontay Wilder.
Sure.
Either one of them. I
Sure.
think that's the perfect role.
Adam, I'm looking at some of the messages here. For sure, we'd all love to see Wilder in with Joshua, but it's exceptionally dangerous for Anthony Joshua, and a brutal loss is the last thing he would.
Depends what we see.
We shall see. Yeah.
If we see Anthony Joshua roar back into the ring and make light work of Dillian Whyte, that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
And Otto Wallen, by the way, is entitled to something because he got rumped over by Dillian Whyte and bounced out of the way last year, didn't he?
That's right. That doesn't sound very... It sounds like an experience you would want to forget. Rumped over and bounced out. Coming up to 12:20.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.